Next exercise is going to give you a little bit of a workout with strings. So if you have forgotten a little bit about your string manipulation method, that's going to be a good reminder. But more importantly, it's going to illustrate a very, very traditional way to write recursive method, which is to have a front method that is not recursive. Okay, so this is the one that we are going to call from our code when we want to use that method. But internally, that non-recursive method is just going to pretty much take its parameter and call a recursive version of itself with generally more parameters. Okay, so the idea is we don't have to expose the recursive version to the user in our API because it has extra parameters, and we know that every time we have to set, one of the parameters to a special value like 0, or in this case the length of the string, so stuff like that. So we don't want to burden the user of our method with that, so we give them a very easy method that just takes, in this case, a string, and is going to count how many uppercase letters there are in the string and return that as a result. Okay, and we don't have to worry about exactly what we need to do in order to get that done recursively. So let's take a look at the code we have to start off with. Okay, so counting uppercase is class. Main method, nothing fancy there. We have a scanner. We prompt the user to enter a string. We read that string with next line method from the scanner class. And then we display the uppercase letters in, and we put the string here as a reminder is, and that's actually incorrect, as a number of uppercase letters are. So then let's fix that. The number of uppercase letters in blah 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 are, and there we go. So, and we call count uppercase, which is our method. We pass the string, and it's going to tell us how many of those uppercase letters we have. So right now we return 0, so that's going to be trivial, but we can already test it. So the string is hello word, and I'd better put some uppercase actually in it. There we go, hello word. And it tells me, of course, hello words as 0 uppercase, even though I put 3 in there. So this is just our boilerplate code. This is our starting point, okay? So instead of returning 0, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to return counter uppercase, and I'm going to pass that string, but this is supposed to be a call to the recursive version of the method. So how am I going to do recursion on a string? Well, I'm going to keep track of the index. So I'm going to do some work for one letter of the string, okay? And then I'm going to call myself recursively and say, well, do the same kind of work, on the previous letter of the string. So I'm going to use an index here that I'm going to start at str.length -1, okay, to avoid being off by 1. So I'm passing the index that corresponds to the last letter in that string, okay, no matter how long it is. And then let's go writing our recursive version here. So still takes a string str as parameter, and I'm going to call this index high, okay, because it's actually starting at the end of the string. So with any recursive function, you're used to it probably by now. The first thing I do is test my termination condition, okay? So if I is lesser than 0, if I is 0, that could be just, that my string has one character. That's okay. So the index of the last character in the string is 0. That's what's passed to that recursive version of the method. That's fine, okay? But if it becomes lesser than 0, then we have a problem. So how many uppercase letters do we have in pretty much an empty string? That's easy to count, 0. And then we move on to our recursion case, okay? So if the string is not empty, I have at least one character. So I can return, let's start with actually the recursive call, okay? So I'm going to do return count uppercase of str, and then I say, hey, the character before this one, okay? And so it's going to count how many uppercase letters are in the rest of the string except the current character at index high. So all I have to do now is determine whether or not this character at index high is actually an uppercase or not. So there is a nice little method in the character class is uppercase, okay? So I can use that to test. And if I figure out that this character is an uppercase, then I count it. So the value I return is 1, otherwise 0. So I'm going to add 1 or 0 depending on whether the character is an uppercase. What character is that? Well, it's a character inside the string str located at index high. Okay? And that's it. So let's give it a shot. Let's try to compile. Ooh, mucho problems. So let's go. Let's take them one at a time. Okay, so that's a typo, silly typo, obviously. And so now that I have an int here, the compiler is going to be a lot happier. There's still a few things that are not really capacitic. Counter uppercase, a misspell here. Counter uppercase. What is it telling me? Cannot find symbol. Return counter uppercase. Well, that's count. That's why. That's not counter. So that would be a problem. Yeah, and I don't know why I called it actually counter here. Let me fix this. So this is count uppercase, right? The method that's non-recursive is count uppercase. I don't have a reason to change the name. I can use the same name but with a method that takes different parameters, so that's not a problem. So I'm going to call it count uppercase as well. Count uppercase here. We should be better. So let me try to compile again. Let's run, enter a string. Hello word. So I try to use the same string, double L and W uppercase. So the number of uppercase letters in hello word are 3. Why did I put R there? That part was okay. Alright. And just because, let's compile and run again. And this time I have a correct display, including the English in our messages. So hello world, there we go. The number of uppercase letters in hello world is 3. All right, and that's it for this exercise.